Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I am discussing and reviewing a film I am incredibly enthusiastic about, one that caught me by total surprise. 1964, Kaneto Shindo's Onibaba, a masterpiece of drama, horror, stylistically perfect, completely realized, full of vision. This movie rocks, man. I just finished it in the final frame. Like, I'm trying to take some time to compose myself to actually relay to you how and why. It's so good. Okay, so the opening shot of this one, there's like a dark pit and there's a poem about how there's this dark passage, and it talks a little bit about how it's linked to this ancient world. And it's such an effective opening visual and shot because right away we are brought to terms with what this movie is going to be about, which is like, in some parts, just this gritty, earthy nastiness of humanity, and it's going to be set in the field. And by the way, the field and the grass and the weeds play such a role, and also it sets us up tonally for what becomes this almost like fable or moralistic lesson that never preaches, and it lands perfect. And it's so good, and I'm so excited about it. And it does so with very minimal effects or much hula or pizzazz needed. I mean, this thing, like, it's only three characters, basically. So two women, they live together in this little makeshift hut during wartime in Japan. And what they're doing, one is the mother-in-law of this woman whose husband is out to war. And they're actually just trying to find samurai who are wounded and die in battle or finish them off if they're already like almost dead. And they're collecting their armor and their weapons and so forth, and they're selling those. And the message, the theme is so dark, and it's just like almost immediately into the film, you understand that this is a world that is honestly portrayed by the director and the screenwriters as what happens with war. And it's money. It's people with a lot more money than you and a lot more power than you trickling down these little gifts. And what are these gifts? The remnants of fallen soldiers. And you're in poverty while they're making it rich. And that is there. But it doesn't have to try hard to show that to you. It's excellent anti-war sentiment that's just worked in there naturally and organically. I love it. It's unflattering. It's ugly. It's morose, and it's beautiful. Watching these characters live this life in such a believable way, a bag of food being a luxury, a nap is too warm. So you have to kind of bargain with yourself in your own emotional state to be able to get sleep because of the exterior elements and the heat. There are stories told around the fire, like the fire and the lighting, and this is wonderful. Another thing that makes this work so well is, even though there are quiet moments and moments of swaying grass and so forth, it always feels like there's an intensity and immediacy to all of the action in the film. Every frame, every moment, every motion has consequence and meaning, and it could just be a character staring through two pieces of branches to try to figure out information. There's another character who he's also an opportunistic human vulture. And the way that his story plays out and how he impacts these two women opens up a whole other series of themes that I don't want to talk about because it spoils parts of the plot, other than to say that this is a very mature film. And by that, I mean, not only is it mature, just you can't watch it around kids, but it's also morally mature, thematically mature, and it's difficult to cope with the messages that these three characters convey through their actions. And so along those lines, don't expect a fun slasher movie just because you see the creepy Onibaba mask. Don't expect that. That's not what this movie's about. In a way, this does have similar elements to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That mask, when you do see it and you see how it's used in the narrative, reminds me a little bit of the Leatherface mask and the best mask in movie history, because as creepy as it is, and as naturally as it can make the human face look terrifying with a few changes, it's also, you get some sympathy for the mask even and the characters or character that might be wearing it. There's some ambiguity there. Along those lines, these characters in the end prove to you, one way or another, they are humanity. The film will even say this at times. The good, the bad, and the really, really ugly. This movie is going to be one of my favorites probably from this decade. And I'm really looking forward to the Criterion Cell because I have to have a copy of this. I'm going to have to watch all the special features. I'm going to listen to a commentary. I'm going to watch it again as soon as that Criterion Cell comes up. I'm going to go all the way through it again. This might be like my favorite movie that I've seen this year, right up there with Leave Her to Heaven and Perfect Days, which I was also extremely enthusiastic about. I mean, this movie, I loved it so much. So this will not be for everybody. It might be a little bit like if you're expecting that slashery mask kind of villain, that chopping kind of thing. It's different. It's doing something different than that. If you have seen this film, or I think he has a few other famous ones, and you like this director, let me know your thoughts. This is an initial reaction to seeing it, okay? I remember as I was watching it, I grabbed a copy of Blood Meridian off my shelf, and I was like, why do I feel the way that Cormac McCarthy made me feel when I was reading Blood Meridian while I'm watching this film? You know why? Because it's great. Like, Blood Meridian's great, and I just love it. So leave me a comment if you would, if you're enjoying the content, if you wouldn't mind clicking like. All these things help support and grow the channel, and we will see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.